Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at Your Service. My name is Carmen Nieves, and I'm your host, and we come to you live each Tuesday at 6:30, where we feature individuals that are making a difference through their work with purpose. Our hope is to educate, entertain, and engage our viewers. The show highlights individuals, businesses, and community programs with purpose. We proudly do that through Soundview Community TV, and we come to you live each week. Today we are featuring CT Rides. Their goal is to make Connecticut a better place to live and work. They help us to learn ways to drive less, save money, and fight climate change. My two guests today is Caitlin Strazula, and she serves as the Director of Engagement and Outreach Services. She manages a statewide program with over 300 partners. She is devoted to community and economic development, which is what we love, right? We want individuals that live in our community and serve in our community. And in economic development, where she has partnered with the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. With her today is Sarah Roy, who is an outreach and engagement specialist from the greater Stamford region, who serves the Stamford greater region. She grew up in Rhode Island. She attended UMass and Amherst. And it goes on and on and on. I think one of the great things about her is that she co-founded not one, but two organizations. One where she served as the executive director of a nonprofit, and the other one as the executive, as the marketing and public relations director for a school, a music school. She also serves, and I think this is great because it's very fitting to what we're talking about here today. She serves as the chairperson of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, helping with livable communities. So ladies, how are you? That bio was large, but I didn't want to cheapen it because I think it's just so great when we have individuals that really live the mission of our work. So Sarah, I want to start off with Caitlin. I want to start off with that first slide and tell us a little bit about the work with CT Rides.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us on, Carmen. It's our true pleasure. We also love highlighting good work, and it's why we're in the roles that we're in. So CT Rides is a statewide service of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Our goal, to put it simply, is just to engage the folks in communities and to get them to put their cars to the side, get out of those single occupancy trips, and to consider an active form of transportation. So that could be biking and walking, or a sustainable form. So that's taking public transit or the rail, or if we're coming from the same spot, we're gonna carpool or van pool. All of that is to mitigate climate change, reduce our traffic congestion, and just make trip taking better in the state, which becomes a placemaking mission to have people fall in love with living in Connecticut.
And just to sightsee, and you have shared experience. I just think that's great because Connecticut has such amazing places to live and to see and all of that. So that's great. And we had just one more slide that I wanted to have you talk about, which really is talking about the Drive Less Challenge. Tell me a little bit about that, because I was really intrigued by what you were saying.
It's our annual campaign. So every single day, myself and Sarah and the rest of our team are boots on the ground preaching that mission that I just told you about. Once a year, we take the full month of May, and 2023 we actually kicked off fittingly on Earth Day, and really asked private employers, CBOs, our community-based organizations, and individuals to step out of their car and try either that sustainable or active transportation trip. This is our most exciting annual campaign, and we try to sustain the habits from that. There are two figures on this slide that I'm so jazzed to see, and it really sparks us in what we can do as a full state and community. The first one is that we saved over 370,000 pounds of CO2 emissions just in that month-ish. That's enormous.
And that's the people that said, I did it, right? There's probably other people that didn't clock it, I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, and we get so excited. We're charged up by that. And so that's on the environmental front. And some people we can motivate with this. We can motivate almost everyone else with the way that it hits your wallet. So this month, this past spring, over 19,000 gallons of gas was also saved. So I know a lot of people that are always looking at the gas prices and trying to find the best deal, and no better deal than not using any at all.
Oh, I think that that's amazing. And just what a little impact, a little something can do if we just, even if it's not every day, if you just make a step to do that, which brings us in, I really want to know about some good stuff. So Sarah, tell me the good stuff. So tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So when I started this role, one of the things I was really excited about, Carmen, was that we have the CT Rides app. It's free to use for anyone living, working in the state of Connecticut. iOS and Droid is compatible, and you can track your trips that you are greener, biking, walking, public transit, carpooling, and earn points towards rewards and incentives on our app, discounts at restaurants, online services. We do monthly drawings, and then during the Drive Less Challenge, we do a lot of higher stakes drawings that you can be a part of. And so I started tracking my good stuff, and I was already doing that greener trip practice of trying to bike and walk and take public transit wherever possible. But once I started tracking it, I could see how it really added up. And the slide shows you, since September 2022, I've been tracking my trips, and I've saved almost $8,000. I have not driven over 12,000 miles. I've saved over 500 gallons of gas. With walking and biking, I've burned over 16,000 calories, and I've saved 5.5 tons of carbon. And so it shows, I love showing that to folks when I'm out engaging with the community and businesses, because it really does add up quickly in terms of your impact, not just on your wallet, but for the environment.
And it makes you pay attention to, I was telling Caitlin before the show that when I met you, you were telling me like what you did, and really that your whole goal was to get the message out of what a great program, because there are a lot of benefits to not only, and I want you guys to talk about that, but I was like, she whipped out her phone and she's like, check this out, and I'm like, you've got to be on my show, because we're not looking to change the world, just the world of one person, right? So even if we're just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it for today, however that impacts, I think what we've been getting at is that this has collective change. Mm-hmm. So in that, Sarah, tell me a little bit about the employer services and things like that. One of you guys tell me a little bit about your employer services, because you do offer services to individuals, businesses, and organizations, right? So you gave me the good stuff, so now tell me about the employer.
I'd be happy to. That's a primary part of my role as an outreach and engagement specialist is engaging with employers and organizations. We are a state program of the Department of Transportation. When you partner with us, you receive custom solutions at no cost to you. You get a dedicated account manager such as myself. There's a team of 6 of us throughout the state. And one of the things I wanted to highlight this evening talking to you is engagement in events we find are some of the most impactful ways to support employers and employees when we get on site, talking to folks, showing them, the good stuff, showing them the possibilities in terms of transit and biking and walking, how it can reduce stress in terms of their commute. It can help save them money. When there's opportunities for active mobility, it can improve their health outcomes. We do things like try-it day events for employers and employees, where we organize a day where folks who want to participate take public transit for the first time, give it a try in the hopes of they'll have a positive experience and make some mode shifts. Maybe not every day, but when it works, it makes sense for them, because we're about progress, not perfection.
I think that that's wonderful. And so there's 3 things on your on that slide that I really wanted just to push back and ask you to tell me a little bit more. Tell me what's involved in the worksite assessment that you do with the companies. Like, what does that involve?
Absolutely. So we can come in both on-site and doing research remotely, looking at where folks are coming from. We can do a zip code analysis, find out, just by the employer supplying zip codes of employees, where there are pockets of people who have the opportunity to perhaps carpool or start a van pool program. We can look at that. We can do surveys of employees to find out like what is working for them in terms of transportation and parking, what they feel, where the needs are, and the opportunities to bring folks together, perhaps for carpool, for a bike to work day, to organize public transit and educate them about public transit. And Caitlin, I'll look to you to fill in where
I love that. I will tell you, and my friend Sandra, who I'm giving a shout out, we tell this story all the time, that we knew each other from the same circles, and we had to go to a training that was 3 days, and I hate to drive. I have like highway anxiety, so I stay very, very close to, like, I live and work within a certain area. And I remember us, like, we bonded so much through those 3 days that we formed a friendship that has lasted over 20 years. So there's something to not only of people getting closer, but when they relate better, they work better together too. So that's one of the things, and unless you had something else you wanted to add to that, I wanted to ask you about 2 other things about that. Is there anything you wanted to add about the work site?
I think Sarah said it perfectly, and to sort of touch on you and Sandra's story, we partner very closely with our regional transit operators, so they become our brothers and sisters in arms for these missions. So when we're going into an employer, especially down here, picture one of the large-scale ones with multiple campuses, we talk to our folks that are regional transit operators and see what we can get done for them, so you and Sandra can have perfectly seamless trips into work.
And fun. Just, we talked about everything. She baked me a cake. It was great. So the other 2 things that I wanted to talk about was the Flex program. Tell me a little bit about how that benefits employers.
I can take that one, sure.
I'll toss it to you, Kate.
Sure. One of the lessons that we learned when the pandemic shocked us all was that we needed flexible work. We needed these programs that would allow mothers, fathers, people, caretakers to work, but also be in their homes. So we were able to build out these programs to help people do that, to give guidance on what sort of procedures that they should, really implement into their workforces to make sure that they're taking good care of their employees, but they're also having an accountability model. So a flex work schedule could look like 10 hours, 4 days a week, or it could look like you're going to telework 1 week on, 1 week off, and programs like that.
Which still helps because you're not traveling in your car.
Absolutely.
So I love that. And Sarah, when we met, you had told me this really awesome story of, and I was mentioning to you, people who have kids tend to not be so much about with the, partnering commuter ride, because God forbid my child gets sick and then what happens? So you were telling me this awesome story about a program that if an employer and a participant decide that they're going to do that, there's actually a benefit that safeguards in case of an emergency for somebody to be able to get home. So could you tell me a little bit about that, and what does it take to enroll in that?
For sure. So you're talking about our emergency ride home program, and that's, I think, one of our strongest, most beneficial programs for employers and employees, because we're advocating for people to take greener trips, active transportation, sustainable transportation, but there is always but what if something happens? I carpool to work, or I took the train and I get a call and my kid is sick and I need to go pick them up from school, and I can't take that same mode to get them and then get home. So the emergency ride home program, it's very simple for employers. There's nothing there's no lift for them. We handle it all. It's if you took a green mode to work, we have a list of eligible emergencies. One of those emergencies comes up, let's say the child, you can take a ride share or a taxi to their school and then to home, and we reimburse you for the cost of that trip up to $200 up to 4 times a year, provided your employer participates in the program, which is just a simple, they provide us with 2 points of contact to confirm that yes, this person is employed there, and yes, there was this emergency, and reimbursements typically 24 to 48 hours once they're approved.
And just to confirm, to participate, there's no cost?
There's no cost to the employer or the employee. The employer has to sign up to be a participating emergency ride home business. Yes.
I think that's amazing. And now that we've started a little bit about the personal stories of how this impacts, it's a benefit to the employer because you're going to get people that are going to be like, I can come to work, I like coming to work, I have a great person to share a ride with. But then it's really about the benefit to the individual to say, yeah, yeah, that's all good, but what's in it for me? So Caitlin, tell me about the ways that individuals benefit and what are their commitments and services?
That's such a great question. So there are two main aspects that I'll give kudos to our customer support team for executing flawlessly and always going above and beyond. Say someone has just moved to the state, they don't understand the public transit system, and they've never ridden before. They're employed in Connecticut. We have a trial pass program where somebody from our customer support team will call, walk you through your commute, that unknown trip, and not only send you the step-by-step directions, but then send you a free pass as a
That's awesome.
Welcome home. Here are your options. We've heard great feedback about this program, and it's a way that we can really motivate individuals to take that chance. On the flip side, if you're not able to take transit or you can't take advantage of that program, our app that Sarah has, gotten all her good stuff from, we have a ride matching program. So we're both coming from the same area of Bridgeport. We can find each other and then come into the station together. And you can find your next Sandra or your next best friend. And, it becomes a placemaking effort to welcome you home and understand the people in your community.
I just think that that's so great, especially since COVID has really shown us a different way to kind of live that I say all the time, there isn't anything that I need to really go into my office for unless I want to use the copier. But there's something about being around people that you really can't get away from that. So this program gives you like a nice mix of both. So we've talked, so for those that are just tuning in, we're here with Sarah and Caitlin from CT Rides, which is a statewide program. So we're featuring here on Soundview, but this is a statewide program. So make sure that you're sharing, but this is a program that has a benefit to individuals, businesses, and community organizations to help us all with driving less, saving money, and what was the third thing? And fighting emissions.
That's right.
So I think that that's really great. So tell me a little bit about how you got into this work, because, and I'm going to start with you, Sarah, because she's got her little app and she'll whip it out at a minute's notice. And you really and Caitlin, you've been here for a while and all of that, but for somebody who's only been in this role, Sarah, for a year, you're just so vested in it, and your stories tell a really great deal. So how did you get into this work?
So, Carmen, I feel like this work isn't just a job for me, it's a calling. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk, pun intended.
You do. You really do.
I didn't own a car until I was 28 years old. I still own that same car, 2005 Honda Civic. Her name is Betty. And she'll be 20 years old next year. And I try to use her as little as possible in my day-to-day life. I mean, I have a car, but I try to be car light, I guess you would say. And that's always just been a core value for me. And then when we moved to Fairfield County, it was much more densely populated and congested than where we were living in New Hampshire. And I just experienced sort of a revelation of like, we could be living better than this, like we're so dependent on our cars to get from point A to point B, and that's not how I want to be, and I want to help others not be that way as well. And so I've been doing, in my personal life, you mentioned I was the chair of the Fairfield Bike and Pedestrian Committee for a couple of years, and I just really, this is, like I said, it's my calling. And so when this opportunity to work with CT Rides came up, it just felt like such a good fit, because this is how I live my life and how I want to help others live too.
I think that's amazing. How about you, Caitlin? How'd you get into this role? And you guys seem to have a really good dynamics. I said that a couple of times, not only here, but on the phone too. And that goes a long way with helping people stay in their jobs and keep growing if they have that. So what brought you in?
People like Sarah motivated me to feel like I would be able to make that progress, not perfection. I actually started in a role like Sarah's in our capital region back in 2016. And as I really got to understand state agencies and, white collar employers and our community-based groups, each conversation led me to feel hopeful, which is so rare in any job, especially because of the fact, just like Sarah had said, it's a passion project for every single person on our team. We eat, sleep, and breathe what we're trying to demonstrate and cause change within the community. And so going from outreach and then now having, the absolute privilege of leading this team, I have seen the program in our state grow over these last pack of years, especially through the pandemic, and now look where we are, and I couldn't be more proud to still be here.
How many people work under the CT Rides?
We have a team of about 20, so we're lean.
20?
But we get it done. Yep.
And just with the outreach and engagement, where you're talking about you'll visit businesses, you'll have these pop-up days and all of that, so that's got to take a lot, because Sarah, you're living it every day, and so are you, in the way that you're leading, and you have 300 partners that you're working with. Who supports you? Like, who helps you to keep the machine well-oiled and moving? I'll start with you, Caitlin.
You're looking at it. The dynamic that you see between Sarah and I, we have a team of 6 that are our outreach core folks, and they're all extroverts, and they're all really committed to the mission. Our leadership, not only within our project, but also at the Connecticut Department of Transportation, allow us to make the impact that we have. So they really, I think, spark my fire, and I think likewise for Sarah, but I'd always love to hear what gets you going.
But tell me about after hours.
Oh, after hours. It's also this. Our team is close-knit. After our 9 to 5, I live in Coventry, and I recharge usually by being outside, taking active forms of transportation, and really understanding what I'm asking of people, whether that's biking, walking, or jumping on the bus. And then
or walking your babies, right?
Or walking those 4-legged babies, and falling in love with where you live.
Awesome. How about you, Sarah?
What charges me?
What charges you to keep you going after, because you really live this every day. You really, by bike riding and putting all the stuff in your app, you're 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So who supports you? How do you recharge? How do you keep it going?
Well, connection is at the heart of everything for me, whether that's connection to community, connection to my family. My husband, Jeff, who you know, is extremely supportive of my passion for active transportation and road safety. And even our 13-year-old son, I get him, he's like, oh, Mom, look, a bike lane, or he's gotten into it. So I deeply appreciate them and their enthusiastic support. And just seeing new places. I'm relatively new to Connecticut. We've lived here about 7 years now, and the pandemic slowed us down a little bit, but we love exploring new communities throughout the state, and that really gets me excited and energized for this work, especially when I see great examples like New Haven, for example. That's one of the closest ones I can think of that's really at the forefront in terms of transportation innovation in our state. And it's exciting, and there's so much going on at the state level too with DOT that I have a lot of hope and optimism for the next few years. Big changes in a positive way, I think, are happening for our streets and transportation.
Especially in Bridgeport. Bridgeport's making a very intentional effort to make downtown kind of like a place where people want to go and visit with street art and all these other things. Plus we have ferry, train, bus within walking distance of it. So it just tells you that we need to create these hubs and these safe places for people to get to where they're going, to get there safely, to save money, to save gas, to make our planet better. So in just a few minutes, I would love if you could recap, just really quickly, Caitlin, I'll start with you, with the programs with CT Rides that's offered to individuals. And then I'll have you talk about businesses, and then really important, if there's companies, please tell them how companies can reach you to set up one of these pop-up days.
Absolutely. So on the individual front, you'll see our contact information. It's info@ctrides.com. ctrides.com is the direct email, or ctrides.com. We have live chat available around the clock. So a few ways that individuals can really take advantage of our programs are tapping us for, if you're a new rider and you work in the state, try a bus trip. Let us customize and build a plan for you. Let us send you a free pass, and then let us know how it goes so we can hopefully sustain that habit for you. Another way that we support individuals is through our app, by identifying ride matches for them and allowing them to take advantage of the rewards through our app that Sarah has taken full advantage of. As you can see. That's right. And finally, just by plugging in with us, reach out to us if you're an individual. Our team would love to lay out any option that you have. And it's sort of the bread and butter, especially during these Drive Less CT campaigns, seeing how a group of many can make such a huge impact.
And even if you just start with just your immediate family, if you're doing it, like you said, Sarah, like your son or your husband or whatever, be like, oh, maybe I could do that too. So Sarah, tell me a little bit about, just recap for me really quickly, the businesses and organization services and you cover Southwest?
So I cover what we call the greater Stanford region. It's basically Greenwich to Bridgeport or so, headed north to the Mass line. It's a little zigzaggy, but that's more or less what it is. So yes, as you mentioned, businesses, for-profit, non-profit, municipalities, organizations, we're happy to work with. You get a account manager such as myself. Our services are at no cost to you. We can come in, engage with your employees. Even before that, we can do a presentation to your human resources department or whoever you need from your leadership team to find out more about who we are, what we do, how we can support you in your transportation demand management needs. And we can do, like we talked about, an assessment for you, what's going on, what do you need, what are the opportunities. We could have a Try It Transit Day or Bike to Work Day event for you. Organize that, from start to finish. We'll organize that for you, and even afterwards, get the feedback from you and your employees, how it went, how we could do, make it better next time, or other ideas. Those are the types of work. The Emergency Ride Home program. One of the ways that I'm having a lot of success engaging with businesses on that is through chambers of commerce. I've done some presentations, and the folks at the table for those are very interested in learning more, because they recognize that at no cost to them, at no inconvenience to them, that's a valuable service they can provide to their employees.
I think that's wonderful. And there's no cost. And here's the goal of today, is don't keep this a secret. Make sure that you're telling people, and even if it's not you, if you see somebody that's, complaining about their car or whatever, that you give them this other opportunity. They lose nothing by trying it. Engage companies. Is there a right size company size, or if a person has 2 people, they could work with you too?
Absolutely. Our motto, or one of the things we like to say, is any person, any ride, any trip, anywhere in the state. So yes, we work with very small companies to companies with thousands of employees.
And you said you have like a chat line that's 24 hours? So does it matter like what somebody's work shift is? Do you guys help with that?
We're really round the clock. The team is extremely flexible and dynamic. So even if it's predominantly third shift, we'll show up at midnight if we can help you understand how you can get to and from work.
We're running out of time, and I didn't even have a chance to say, can you add, because we just did kind of the remarks. So we want to thank you, Sarah, Caitlin. Thank you not only for what you do through Connecticut Rides, but in all the ways that you personally give back to the community. We want to ask you to join us again next Tuesday at 6:30. Where we look to engage, entertain, and inform. We'll see you next week. Check this video out.
I like trains.
I like trains too.
Free down is mint complete.
I beg your pardon?
Transit is a trip.